Hello everyone and welcome back to Series 7 of the Public Eye podcast, brought to you of course by Granite Exchange in Newry. I'm your host Sarah Travers, and throughout the series, as always, I'll be speaking with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how their companies have come to be, to gain insight into their growth and find out how they continue to innovate. So wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for all new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. Very excited today to be joined by the one and only Caroline O'Neill, founder of DIGG For Success, Dig Deep for Kids, Dig Mama blog, and co-founder of the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards. Caroline, you are very welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I am delighted to be here. Delighted.
And you're used to doing your own podcast too, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. Just before we have our chat, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Caroline and all of her businesses to date. So Caroline is first and foremost mum to Pierce, Dara and Tess, wife to Jared, and the mind and magic behind all things DIGG. Now, before Caroline decided to take on the world of social media, she was actually the owner of DIGG Children's Wear in Dungannon. During her 12 years in DIGG Children's Wear, she founded DIGG For Success, an organisation that helps businesses use social media to grow their brand and business. In 2019, she wanted to celebrate all things social, so herself and her fantastic business partner, Niamh Taylor, CEO of Digital24, founded the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards. Caroline has a really well-known online platform. Many of you will tune in to Dig Mama, a place where she, documents her family and absolutely, it would seem, everything that entails from family life, holidays, home cooking and all the craziness that unfolds in the O'Neill's house on a daily basis. You'll know her kids as well. They feature regularly and are an absolute hoot. They've become, famous in their own right. It's also Caroline's way of fulfilling her passion for helping businesses to navigate their way through this. I suppose it's still a very new digital space that we are in now. And after many years of working alongside her customers to provide as many gifts as possible for the Cash for Kids campaign, Caroline decided to turn to social media and encourage as many of her followers as possible to contribute to the collection in order to make the lives of children in Northern Ireland that little bit brighter for Christmas. The campaign has been going and really snowballed into something incredible. If you followed this on social media, you'll know that Caroline was inundated with help and support, really humbling, I'm sure, at times. And the combined power of generous local businesses, dedicated influencers, and really the overwhelming kindness of Caroline's followers, the campaign has raised, we'll find out if this is accurate, almost £300,000 to date. Absolutely. Caroline, what an intro.
Oh my God. I'm like, keep going. I'm loving this. No, but honestly, when you're saying that, actually, there's wee bits where you get emotional too, because it's been just such a journey, you know.
I know. And the thing is, you don't often get to sit still. So I've got you trapped in the Public Eye podcast studio today. And I want to just tap into a wee bit of the emotion around that. And you know, it's been quite a journey for you and full on all of the time. It started, I suppose, let's find out a little bit about, you know, who the child Caroline was. Where did you come from? I know you're Tyrone through and through, though.
I am. Look, there's nothing revolutionary to tell. I had a normal, happy life, childhood, thank God. And my mum stayed at home to rear us 6 children, while my dad was entrepreneurial, I suppose, from, you know, he's owned his own business all his life. And like my mum would always say, now, oh, you get that from your daddy? I'm like, no. I get that from you and Daddy, because she would have been in the traditional mindset, oh, well, I just stayed at home and, you know, and I'm like, no, now I have kids, I know that that's as big a job as any job you'll ever do, you know.
More difficult.
Exactly.
It's a thankless task.
Yeah, so I watched them both through life, you know, power through and struggles up and down, but happy life and you know, all was good, and went the traditional route of school and did my A-levels. But I actually joked about this yesterday, about the career advice in school and how I chose my career, and it wasn't the way I would want my kids to choose their career. It was there's a teacher coming, right, pick something out of the prospectus, and I literally, that's how I chose to do occupational therapy. So
That's what you did, right?
and now in saying that, the caring nature was always there in me. You know, it wasn't, I knew I was never going to be an accountant or a doctor or anything like, or I mean, you know, from like what to do with biology and all of that, but the caring side was there, so I was drawn to that profession and loved I went to Jordanstown, studied there for 4 years, became an occupational therapist, worked in Craigavon Hospital, loved my teammates and colleagues there and my patients. But Sarah, always, all my life, I never really realised it till people started to point it out, talking about what I could imagine if you did this, and wouldn't it be deadly to do this? And so I was always talking on my lunch break in Craigavon Hospital about a bagel bar. Do not ask me. Bagels were the thing in 2005 and 6. It was taken off, and I remember talking about that. And then I actually worked in retail while I was studying to be an OT in Dungannon, and while I was in my second year out in the world of work in Craigavon, the girls that actually owned the shop in Dungannon were deciding to close, and I knew, I don't know, something just clicked. I was like, I can do this. So I remember going home to mummy and daddy, actually driving up from Craigavon Hospital, thinking about it, you know, the way your mind be's going, and I went in and I said it to my mummy, and she was devastated. Like, she said, what? Going to leave your good job as an you know that,
I know.
That's not a stigma, but that, you know, she just
yeah.
thought this was great. Her daughter was an occupational therapist, and all my brothers, all now much more, you know, have got on so well, but none of them went down the educational route. So she was proud as punch that I was this OT. Anyway, I said, look, mummy, you know, I can do this, I know. So daddy came home from work and he's like, yeah, you can do it. You know, so I was only 26. I had no money, Sarah. I had student loans up to here, still have student loans up to there. And, you know, I couldn't do it financially, you know. So my dad said to me, if you want to do this, I'll help you. And he meant financial wise, and obviously you know, supportive as well, emotionally or whatever. And then of course mummy was like, well, you know, every mother, if you want to, I'll support you. But I knew she was crumbling inside, like. But anyway, that was it. I the next week I went in and told my boss in Craigavon Hospital, Shane Breen, he was sat right beside me, I'll never forget him, and I said, I'm leaving and I'm going to start my own business. And he said, is it a bagel bar? And I said, no, it's actually not. It's retail. But I guess that need for more was always in me, entrepreneur-wise, you know, like to do my own thing. And even though I loved OT, I was kind of bound by the restrictions of being in a hospital and the creativity that you're not allowed to really have in that way. So, yeah, that was, I left, and I'm telling you this now, and I actually can't believe I did that. You know, I think youth helps you make huge decisions like that too. I don't know now.
You have nothing to lose apart from, I suppose, the credibility in your mum's eyes. But then when you even think about it being a woman in that generation, you know, our mothers, our grandmothers, they didn't have the choice that we have now. But it always takes just the backing of someone. Maybe if your dad had come home and said, absolutely not.
Oh, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. If I needed that, everyone needs that kind of confidence in them, I think, sometimes, you know, and he definitely gave that to me. So, and
there might be many people listening to this. They usually tune in if they have perhaps an idea. Maybe they're working in the system or doing brilliant jobs, but there's always that burning desire. There must be a different way to live, and it's not easier. But is it more fulfilling or rewarding?
Well, I guess if you're pursuing your dream, you are fulfilled,
whatever you're
regardless
doing.
of what, you know. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, it's a journey for sure, and a challenging one, and you know, a lonely one sometimes when you're on your own. But it's one, you know, I'm glad I took, because I wouldn't be sitting talking to you today if I had have stayed.
We're staying in the past now for a little longer, because it started with the shop then. So what happened next?
Okay, so I called it DIGG because my daddy drives a digger and he helped me get started financially. So when we were trying to decide what to call the shop, my best friend said to me, just call it something that means something to you. And now when I do all my branding work and marketing and all of that, I realise that I was doing that before I even realised what branding and marketing was, because you know, when you strip it back and think about your true values and what something means to you, DIGG means more than anyone will ever know to me, because actually if Daddy hadn't given me that confidence in voice and in the actions that he did financially, I would never have been able to start that. So I just called it DIGG. And I remember Jared, who was just my boyfriend at the time, said, you can't call it DIGG. And I was like, I am calling it DIGG.
You just knew?
I just knew. I don't know. And it's 2 G's, DIGG, just for a point of difference really than just the DIG. And God, look at the amount of DIGG things. I'm Mrs. DIGG now. People call me it's Mrs. DIGG.
People think it's your surname.
I
know.
So yes, I started DIGG Children's Wear, and which was DIGG Menswear at the time, and evolved into kids wear just with my need to kind of get a niche in the market, and kids were definitely what it was what it turned out to be.
Now, it was hugely successful.
It was.
Hugely successful, and you were always ahead of the curve, because when you look at the challenges that you've overcome, especially going into retail, and we know the pressures on retail way before the pandemic, you felt them firsthand. And given that you'd also built up such a persona on social media, your followers saw firsthand the pain and the challenges that you went through.
We're not going to get into every single thing. It was challenging throughout the 12 years. There was a public realm scheme in our town, and footfall decreased, and I had to think of ways outside the box to try to bring people into my shop, which is why I kind of niched into kids wear. And it was always evolving, always changing. I had to think on my feet. I don't know how I done it looking back, because I really had no knowledge of how to to do all this business things. But I always say to people, that's why I'm a great advocate for asking and learning, and asking people their advice. And also I always was saying, I don't know how to do this, and how do I do this? So that definitely stood by me for being vocal and not standing back and saying, oh, I'm just not going to ask.
But how do you know who to listen to? Because you could get lots of conflicting advice, and if you're like me, who can't make a decision, is that sometimes a real problem?
I think you always have a gut who's a gut feeling, who's the right salt of the earth here telling me.
Help me.
I knew who that. Everyone knows who's got their right interests at heart. When you're speaking to someone, you get a feeling. You're like, no, they're a good person giving good, honest, solid advice. So I kind of try to get a group of mentors around me like that, and people who didn't even know they were mentors, local business owners in the town that I would have looked up to and stuff. So I think just being vocal about what you don't know helped me get through those 12 years.
This podcast is sponsored by Granite Legal Services, a niche business and immigration law practice located in the heart of Newry City. Granite Legal Services provides legal advice to both individuals and companies alike across a wide range of industries, from employment, commercial or corporate law matters to immigration law. Granite Legal Services focuses on providing legally sound, practical advice to its clients. To get in touch, visit www.granitelegalservices.co.uk or contact 028 3026 2200. You knew that online was going to be the future too.
Yes, so probably 2000, and I always say 2015, 16, people were starting to talk about Facebook and, social media, and I was thinking, oh my God, I just wanted to sell clothes. But little did I know, deep down I am a natural storyteller and an extrovert, as we talked about before we came on. So suited me very well, actually, the social media coming to the fore. So yeah.
So was it the website first of all, or the social media first?
Well, this is the problem, and this is what faces most business owners. So the website comes first, and then they're like, no sales. And that's what happened to me. So I thought I needed this shiny big website, which I did. Spent a lot of money, invested a lot of money, and no sales, Sarah. And this is what happens, and this is what kind of spurred me on for DIGG For Success and to help other business owners, because I got some kick in the teeth. I had this thousands and thousands of pounds website, and no sales. I just couldn't understand it.
Where are they? What's wrong with people?
What is wrong? This is fabulous. I have the most fabulous store here online. So I quickly had to learn. I went to training seminars. I started to listen to people, and a person that we just talked about before we came on, who's now my co-founder of the Social Media Awards and good friend, Neve. I heard her speak at an event about, you can't expect to have this website. How do people know you're there? How are they going to know? There's millions of websites. You're a drop in the ocean. And so that clicked with me very quickly, thank God. And I started to learn, and I just taught myself everything I could. I stayed up late at night. I listened to tutorials. I went to every seminar there was going, and every council area. When I wasn't even part of the council area, I would have snuck in. And because they kind of just put them out for the people that are in the council area, but I would have got signed up. And yeah, I had to learn quick. And I learned about how to use social media to drive people to your website. And oh my goodness.
And then you became, I mean, I've interviewed you several times, and at business events, you know, all over Northern Ireland, you became the go-to of the person that wasn't just telling other businesses how to do it. You were walking the walk and doing it at the same time.
Well, that's so important, because lots of people can talk the talk but have the walk, you know.
No.
And, you know, so I always said, look, people said that this is what you need to do, but in reality, that's very hard to do as a business owner who's flat out during the day. So here's what you actually do need to do. You need to close your door at 5:30, feed whoever you need to feed, get them to bed, and you need to work your butt off to 12 o'clock. I'm sorry.
Are you serious? So every single night you work till 12 o'clock?
That is just what I had to do. And, you know, people, you know, shied away from saying that sometimes, or perhaps made it look like there was a lot of theory on the table, but there was no practicalities about how to roll that out. And I was very vocal about it. And I think that's kind of what drew like a business community to me then.
But you couldn't do that unless you loved what you were doing. You couldn't be sitting there seething with resentment. Why did you give up OT?
No, every business owner, I think, has to love what they're doing. Otherwise, it's never going to work, because you'll just give up because it's so hard. So, you know, you need to love what you do, or else you find another avenue, because otherwise you're going to burn out and you're not going to want to keep it going.
Well, what happens though if you do get to that point where you feel you're going to burn out? Did you face that?
No, I never felt like I was going to burn out. There was times that I would have cried, but I never had that mental feeling
Exhaustion.
that I couldn't cope. No, and I guess that's just, I don't know, maybe it's going to come someday, hopefully not, but I just tried to battle through. I was always very vocal, and that helps. If you hide the challenges, it can overcome you where you feel you can't cope. But I always, the next day, if I worked at 12 o'clock and couldn't see a way through that email campaign or that social content, I would have left the phone, said here to perhaps Neve or mentors or other people, or even my dad, here, cash flow's bad here in the shop. What do I do about that? You need to go talk to the bank and get them to give you an overdraft. You know, I just said it, and I think that helps, Sarah. If you keep it all inside, oh my goodness, it can mount and mount, and then you feel like you can't continue.
That's such good advice, or even write it down and actually articulate, what am I feeling right now? Why am I stressed? What is it? Name the problem. And Jared, at this stage, you've maybe got married, you've talked about having to feed people, so maybe there are little people already.
Yes.
You know, how does that affect a relationship?
Okay, so that part's not easy, and I always say that there was a lot of challenges at the start, because Jared was so supportive and all, but when you're on your phone, which is it's your business, it can create negativity within the home, and I talk about this a lot, and that people need to. So I had to have a conversation with Jared to say, this is actually my business that is in my hand, and he's a welder, right? So I always say to him, if you said to me after dinner time, I have to go work late tonight, and you went and I looked out and you had your welder in your hand, would I say negative things to you? I'd be thinking, go Jared, you're earning a living there for us, you're bringing in more money. But when someone sees you with your phone in your hand, they don't realise, unless you spell it out, which I did, this is my continuation of work here at night. So I had that conversation with him very early, and honestly, Sarah, I know this sounds simple, that changed things for our family so much.
Well, it's that open transparency, communication. If you don't communicate either that you've got a problem or somebody else has got a problem with you, that's where the real
So I would say to people to have that, even though they think they might need to have that conversation, that this is actually my customer asking me a question, and would you ignore your customer if they came to you? No.
So we're still in the shop, we've got the website, but now we're doing the social media and we're working till midnight. What did that do for business?
That helped business greatly. So traffic started to come to the website. I started to have increased footfall as well as the website, because people were travelling from all over the country because of the niche kind of area that I was covering of occasion more for kids, and social media was doing it all for me. And I always say to businesses, there's nothing will make you continue your work on social than increased sales.
Exactly.
So if you do a video and you have 4 people. Like, people say to me, oh, it only got 400 views. I'm like, 400, that's like 400 people stand outside your door.
Yeah.
You can pay for it. So if you do a video and you get so many sales in a night because of that video, you'll pick that phone up tomorrow and do another one. So that's my first encouragement to people. Do it and see the reaction, and it'll encourage you.
So there was a transformation, but then we were hit with the pandemic, and you know, I, along with many of your followers, would have seen the upsetting video, and I'm sure even going back and thinking back to that time isn't easy for you to articulate the pain and the folks. That's it. I'm out. I'm done.
So I could have kept going, but I had to make a decision. So basically I was in a position where my website was going really well, but the thing that was pulling me back was stock, and I didn't have enough stock on my website for the level of traffic that was coming. So imagine that situation.
Wow.
So I made the decision just in the autumn, winter previous, because you buy seasons ahead, that for the spring, summer coming, which was COVID coming, and I didn't know, I would stock my website to the same level that my store, that my bricks and mortar was. So I had double the investment of stock. For the first time in 12 years, I'd made that decision. No, if this is going to work, if I'm going to be doing Facebook ads and all, I need the stock there for the people, because they're going to get annoyed. So I had double the amount of stock I'd ever had when COVID hit, right? So I can't express to you what I felt. I felt like that time when you said to me, actually, did you ever get that feeling where you could? That was one of the times when my baby was. I just had tests. She was only 4 months. I thought everybody was going to die with COVID as well. I was dealing with that. You know, when that time there was like 3 or 4 weeks when everyone thought, what
is this?
And I remember closing my door, and I think it was the 15th of March, and I went home to Jared, and that's when I closed the shop that day, because everybody had been advised to, and I said, I'm never opening those doors again. That's how quickly I made the decision. And I looked around me as I closed the doors on the 15th of March and seen all the stock, first of all, and I knew all occasions were cancelled, and with no prospect of that happening. So people used to say the words...
So you would be selling a lot for occasion wear for kids?
90% occasion wear. So you can imagine... That
weddings, communions, bar mitzvahs,
everything. Well, yeah. So if that's all taken away from you, and people used to say to me, but it'll come back, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do until it does? Like, so it wasn't easy. I'm not saying like I made that decision, but I mean, something in my head clicked, and I knew that my family I knew what I'd built up was just taken away so quickly, and they needed me more than what the shop was going to require for me to keep it afloat until things returned. And I weighed that all up in my head, and then I spoke to obviously Jared and my dad and my accountant and my sister and all of that, and had other path too laying out for me with social and the business community there. It wasn't like I just decided to close. I don't want anybody to make it sound like I just decided to close easily. Like, I knew I had another path as well that actually I excelled at and loved. And I just decided that I was never going back there. And yes, that happened in March, but I'm still working through stuff to do with DIGG Children's Wear that, you know, it just doesn't close after 12 years. And I always be open and honest to anyone that comes to me to say that. But yes, I closed, and yeah.
And you took that decision, as you said, you just trusted your gut again.
Yes.
Lots of people during the pandemic, it was probably one of the most challenging times, especially at the start when it was an unknown. But one of the words that keeps cropping up again and again in these business podcasts is being agile. We now realise that being able to make decisions under pressure and when they're thought through and acting quickly is the right thing to do.
That's the only thing that stood by me, is I acted quick. You know, sometimes I see other business owners and they're coming to me now and saying, I wish I had it done, you know, because I knew then, but look, everybody has their journey. Everybody has their reasons why they stay. I had overwhelming reasons to go with my family and the way they needed me, and other things pulling me. So that was my decision, but it's not the right path for everyone will make their own journey. But it's, as you say, it's about learning from that experience and trying to be agile when you do make it.
But you had this massive social media following, and everybody was probably like, what's Caroline, what's she going to do? But actually it was trusting in this new way, this new world. And even in the last couple of years too, I mean, we're all seeing influencers, I'll say the word now.
Yes.
Influencers are out there, and you are an influencer.
Yes.
So where do you, obviously you're doing well out of that, but you know, how, And you work really, really hard at it, and your family are very much part of it.
Yes.
So I suppose you're getting to do the family
Yes.
at the same time.
Yes.
But is it a challenge? It looks so wonderful. Sometimes you do that. I've had a tough day today or whatever, but on the whole, it does, you follow these people and it looks like you're having an amazing life.
I am.
Good.
I like sometimes people say, oh, they make it look so good. Like, my God, like the house be upside down and me and Jared fall out and the children be fighting and that's just normal life. Like,
and you don't really want to put that up.
Well, who wants to watch me and Jared killing each other or the children racking out? Like, I do show real life where we're just having our normal family days and stuff. But I use my platforms for a positive space for people to come and a place for people to enjoy watching. And I know what I like to see, so never do I ever portray that it's perfect. But I absolutely wouldn't be using it to shed negativity on anything. So no, I do have a good, thank God, solid family life at the minute, and I hope it always stays that way. And I just use my platform to kind of show that, and it works. People seem to like that. So,
but it's very much involving the family and how even your mum and dad feature, and they're great. They become characters in this. Real life. It's I suppose it's nearly like a reality TV show sometimes in a different format. Yeah. How do they feel about their fame now?
Here, look, it's not fame. Sure, we're all just the same. But I just use social, and then I couldn't use social media without them being part of it, and they're all very, obviously I get it from them, they're social too, whether they like to admit it or not. Like, Daddy loves the crack and Mummy's with me all the time, and they're just part of it. And look, we're a real family, just living life.
You're really close, and you do everything together, even watching the football. Now, we have to talk about your youngest son, Dara, who became an internet sensation as Tyrone's busiest man. If you don't know about this, please go and Google this right now, Dara and Tyrone's busiest man. You'll fall in love with him. He's absolutely adorable. Where did you get them?
Oh my God, where did he come out of? He was only 4 when he said all that, like 4 years old, and he talks like an old man, and he still does. But yeah, so that happened. So when DIGG Children's were closed, I changed all my handles to DIGG Mama on social. And you said to me, like, oh, you had massive social following, but there was only 10,000 followers when I closed my shop on Instagram, and there was only 15,000 on Facebook. So which was massive to me in DIGG Children's, where I needed every single one of those people. But when I closed my shop, how ironic is it though that when you really need more, you don't really get them to your business closes down? I always find that so ironic. Like, I fought really hard to get so many people on my
curious
platform. But at the end of the day, I was sharing more content that was open. Like, not everyone wants to be sold kids' clothes to. So anyway, I changed them to DIGG Mama because I was a mum and I still wanted to hold on to DIGG, and I started to share more family content because I didn't really do that when I was in DIGG Children's Work because it was my business. And then I just caught Dara one day, and he was flat out, and he was so busy, and I was videoing away at him and all, and he was loving life that I was videoing him. That was part of what we did as well, and he was just telling his daddy what he was going to be doing that day. Anyway, it went viral. I posted it that night.
As cute as, honestly, they're cutest kids, the three of them.
Honestly, everybody thinks their kids are cute, so everybody thinks their own kids are cute.
But, they're such characters. And do they realise that, what do? They see Mummy with her phone, because the phone is the job, really, isn't it?
And
what's
that's
that like?
Very, very important. Like, I had the conversation with Jared, I had it with them too, Sarah, because, I had to make them understand that this is my work, and, this is what I do. And I tell them, actually, Mummy helps businesses to sell things using her phone, and this is what, and they understand it. Like, they're very, children now, sure, 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and
they can do everything.
They know the crack, and they understand it all. And never, like, if you look at my life on social, it's about cooking and going on activities. There's never anything that social media is only as invasive as you allow it to be. And I just show what I love to do, and there's nothing invasive to me about mine.
I have much older children, and I'm thinking, the challenges could lie in the future years when they go, Mum, get that out of my face.
Yes, but I think mine have grown up with it so much.
It's so normal. And do you get... Okay, here speaks the journalist, but, if I was interviewing somebody, I had to have consent, so we knew when the filming would start. Do you say, look, Mummy's going to switch this on, or
absolutely.
do you capture real
Oh, we capture real, but they all, like we do work with Mullins ice cream, and they know, right, we're doing a Mullins thing today. Like they're loving life,
of course.
But no, absolutely. Now they're getting older, and I like you haven't heard Dara coming out with any of that recently, any of that talk, because he's getting older, and he wouldn't want me to be, and I would never film him now, you know. So now we do very much, you know, the fun stuff, and you know, my wee girl Tess is starting to be like a character too now. So no, there's always that element of I would never want them to feel like I was filming
uncomfortable.
No. So no, we're always just having fun, loving life, and they know that it's mummy's work, and they get involved when they want to.
So how does it work now? You seem to be doing so much. There's so much good work that you're doing as well. In terms of clients, would they book you then, and you help them with raising their, you know, do you do all of their social media for them, or do they buy something from you? Could you publicise this, or what way does it work?
Right, so when people, like influencer marketing is huge, and I am definitely part of that circle now, as well as the consultancy thing that I do with social.
Yes,
but
consultancy, that was the word I was looking
for. Whenever brands and businesses reach out to me, and if someone says to me, would you promote this for me, I that doesn't sit with me, because I'm from the business background. So I'm like, right, let's talk about what actually are you trying to achieve here. And we do, the consultancy comes with my advertisement as well, and that's what makes it magic as well.
And unique.
Yes. Yeah. And I say to them, now, if I'm doing this, you need to be doing this. And they're like, oh, I never thought of that. So actually there's a great package there, and I can't be all things to everyone. So I try to work with businesses that I know I can make a difference with in that respect. So say
because you would be inundated, I'm sure.
Inundated, and that's fair enough. They're seeing the eyeballs, but like if someone said to me, oh, you can have an affiliate link for a brand or whatever, I'm like, I don't do stuff like that there. Some people do, but I do more of the brand journey and the business journey, and that's what I love, Sarah. I could never just be an advertising tool for someone. I
and
want
sharing
it to be more
the values with the clients
yes.
as well.
Yes.
Somebody that's on the same wavelength as you, with the same values.
Exactly.
That's what comes across. You also recently became the co-founder with, as you've mentioned, Niamh Taylor, of the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards. Obviously, things slightly different lately, but how's that been going?
Well, we had our first year in business with the Social Media Awards, and it was amazing, and it was celebrating social media. Like, there is negativity around everything in life, I know that, but sometimes people look on social as a negative thing. Never ever have I done that. I love it. I love what it can do for business and for life, and that's what we're kind of, that passion came for the awards. And then I spoke to Niamh, who was a mentor of mine for, you know, she mentored me for years, and a good friend, and she was with me because she supports a lot of businesses and sees the struggles but also the gains. So we just came together, and it was absolutely unbelievable. But flipping COVID hit, and then we had a halt, and that's okay, but still, in COVID, how much are we going to be able to celebrate now in the Social Media Awards? People have excelled, like beyond excelling on social. So this year it's going to be an even bigger celebration.
Events are back.
My
diary is full. Yes. I'm having to try and squeeze into all of the dresses again.
I know, the
get out of the
bunch.
joggers. I know. Can you wear joggers and maybe slippers on the stage? I don't know, but very, very exciting. I think back to a previous time, again, before COVID, when I said to you at an event, how do you use this Instagram thing anyway?
Oh, I'll never forget it.
I haven't really...
no, you haven't got any better, have you?
Well, you showed me how to share a story. I'm good at sharing stories now. But
so I remember seeing Sarah, and I was thinking, oh, this is Sarah Travers here, you know, she'll
be very capable
and all, and she's, you know, she's on the TV and all, she knows the crack. And she was like, what's that there you're doing there? I was like, oh, I'm sharing what people are tagging me in, and you, God love you,
I'd been on Twitter. I'd been on Twitter, you see, as a journalist. That was where journalists lived. But then I suppose I have my own business now, and I thought, I don't understand all of this. And, you know, if other people like me are listening right now, what advice would you give to businesses? I think they realise now that if they're not on social media, they absolutely should be. But, you know, how do you start?
You have to start.
Okay.
Right. So I speak to so many people, and they are procrastinating beyond, like.
But I don't like this. I don't want to speak on camera. I don't want to have a.
So I do an online course, right, where I actually Zoom at the minute, where I take groups of business owners, because I actually don't have the time to do it individually anymore. So I take groups of people together. They're all saying the same thing. First of all, they have no confidence. I get that. Not everybody can do what perhaps you do or I do. I get that. But there are other ways to explore this, like influencer marketing, or, you know, videos without your face and just your voice. So I first of all, you have to start. And you have to, the key thing is consistency. So people say to me, oh, I did that and it didn't work. Yeah. You did it
Try
once
again.
and you didn't post on anything else on social for 2 weeks. Absolutely not. You wouldn't consider not opening your shop door every day. So why would you ever consider not opening your social platforms? And that's what I always say to people. Consistency will breed success.
So you need to have a strategy. You can't, with me now, it would be a bit scattergun all over the place, just, knee-jerk reaction, reshare somebody else's something.
At least you're showing up though. I would don't be scared by the word strategy. Some people don't even know what strategy means.
But building it into your day,
Yes.
it can't be done in a second.
No, but it needs to be consistent.
So how do you know, where do you do that? Do you build that into the diary? I'm going to do one post a week, I'm going to do one a day. What do you need to do?
Well, what would you do in your business every day? You show up every day, so you need to show up every day in some respect, whether that be a story, a post on Facebook, a post on Instagram. Like, do not consider not showing up if you have 400 people following you. Would you, if you had 400 people sign you an email, you wouldn't ignore them? So
people say they're busy, they procrastinate or whatever,
Yes.
but do you actually say, right, for an hour a day, this is social media time, I'm going to...
Yes, and if you don't have it in that hour, you feed who you need to feed. And you do it before you go to bed. And that's just it. And that's what it's another part of your business.
Yeah.
And you need to treat it like that. Same as your website. People start a website and they think it's just going to... No, you need to attend to your website the same way. It's another business. You've opened business number 2.
Do you get somebody else to do it for you, or do you do it yourself? Do you need to be present?
There's different rules, not different rules, but there's a different path for each business, and everybody's situation is different. Some people don't want that personal voice on there maybe a more bigger brand, or and there's other ways to do it. Some people pay people to manage their social media for them. Like, I speak to business owners all the time. They're like, do you know what? Just tell me who I can pay to do this, because I don't have time, and that's okay too. But as long as it is that system is in place and that person is doing that for you consistently, then you can still reap the rewards regardless of your path on how you do it. You need to do it.
Absolutely. Does anybody help behind the machine that is Caroline O'Neill?
Oh my God, yes. My mummy, my mother-in-law, my babysitter, my childminder, Jared. I'm just like people say to me, Sarah, all the time, God, you're so busy, you're flat out, but I show it. If I followed you from the morning and you showed me, I'd be like, oh my God, she's flat to the mat.
That's true.
So it's only because I am no different than any other working mummy out there, except I use my platform to show because that's my job. But I do not be under any illusion that I have my together, because I need everybody to help me just like everybody else, and thank God I do have good support.
What's next, do you think, for you? Where will you go
No
now?
more
Because
DIGG
there's only you.
No. Jerry's like, please don't tell me there's one more DIGG thing going to come up in this house.
Well, listen, let's just talk about the fantastic work you did with Dig Deep for Kids campaign there at Christmas. I mean, £300,000 you raised, and I was watching from home.
I know you were, as I was getting your wee messages.
Feeling really overwhelmed because I wasn't close up from the North Coast. I'm sure others travelled to help you.
No, you were there spurring me on, buying my cookbook and all, and telling me when it arrived. I was like, thank God it arrived.
But that was incredible, and I know at the time then you all got COVID as well in the family, and it was Christmas and there was just this goal, but it was people. It's Caroline. People turn up for you.
Oh my God! But I know, but it is the people. I know I seem to be a good person to get everyone rallied around, but
they do it because they love you.
But they do it because they actually do want to make a difference too. But sometimes people need that vehicle, and I seem to be that leader. And I take that on, and I can do that. Like, sometimes at every Christmas, my dad, I'd say to me, even though he is my biggest cheerleader, he'd say, like, you're getting yourself in some handling here, like, like, Caroline, I'm not going to have a warehouse big enough to give you next year, like, because he always gives me the warehouse to put it in, and I was like, look, we'll figure it. And I know he's proud, and I got that from him too. He was always making a difference in ways like that, and never was vocal about it. But Dig Deep for Kids is not just me, Sarah. I am the vehicle, but it is it feels like the whole country. I don't know, it really does. But it actually over 300,000 raised, but we've actually been able to buy over £500,000 worth of stuff for the charities because of influencers spending it. So, and
then do you hear back what all of those donations meant?
Yes, I would say, like, we're working closely with the Simon community at the minute, but we know the impact that it makes. And these people are going through such, you know, the leaders of the charities would tell us the stories, but we don't actually hear from the people because we don't need to. We know the difference that it makes, and, you know, we'll never forget that. And I always try to tell the people that supported me, this is what we've done. We've just actually bought a part of a house with the money from DIGG for Kids for the Simon community. So there's going to be families living in a home because of what we all did. That, do we really need to know anymore?
It's amazing. Would you say that's your biggest achievement to date?
Yes, and being able to do it all with a healthy, happy family is probably a big achievement to me. But yes, to be able to do stuff like, we're all here living life, but what does it mean really if we can't do stuff like that? And the fact I don't think I'll ever be able to stop that, to be honest.
That's your biggest achievement, but I'm wondering, has there been a standout moment where you actually pinch yourself and you go, I love my life?
No. Oh, everybody, you know, if you're a mummy, I suppose you always say this whenever I told my wee boy yesterday on the way to school, do you know when you were born and everybody left and I looked into the wee incubator and you were looking out at me and I said to you, I can't believe you're mine. And do you know what he said to me? This is so random, you're telling me this. You know, he's only 7. And I said, I don't know what, but moments like that, I'm like, I can't believe I became a mummy. You know, things like that stand out. But I'm just trying to get on with my life. I never stand and go, because look, we all have, I still go through things as well, Sarah, but we all have challenges. But no, just, I suppose, being still here, surviving with a happy family is my biggest achievement, really.
And thank you so much for coming to talk to me today on the Public Eye podcast. I'm sure you've inspired so many, but we always ask all of our guests the same question at the end, and the purpose really of this podcast is to inspire existing business owners and those ambitious entrepreneurs out there to grow their business by offering insight into the success of businesses such as yours. So we always ask, you know, what advice would you give to people maybe who are sitting there with a business idea but have no idea where to begin, or they're unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking, just like your story?
So I touched on it in our conversation, but that person that doesn't know where to begin and afraid of the challenges, if they say that out loud, the people will flock to tell them the path forward. And if you are always afraid of sounding stupid, like I just spoke to an accountant actually on my podcast. I still don't know the difference between gross and net and profit margin. I don't know, Sarah, but I don't care that I say I don't know. And there might be people listening going, she's not that smart, she doesn't know. I don't know how to do figures, and that's just it. So I think if there's business owners listening and they don't know how to create the business plan, or they don't know how to set up the social platforms, hold your hand up in whatever room you're in or whatever forum you're on online, go say, could somebody show me how to do this, please? And I guarantee you the wheels will start turning.
I think that's incredible advice. And actually, you're not alone. Many, many people have sat right where you are now, and they've said that they didn't understand the business world, but they had imagination, they had creativity, they had drive, and they had passion. And that's something that I can definitely say about you, Caroline O'Neill. It's been an absolute pleasure. Great to see you again. And I can't wait to see what's next for DIGG.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. It's great to be here.
This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.